So we are dealing with the principal components of the human skin. So we have finished epidermis. Okay, so now we are moving to dermis, and we have till learned that the dermis contains different types of other structures like blood vessels, nerve fibers, sweat glands, sebaceous glands. Clear? So now we will look into the structure of the dermis in detail. So when we look into the dermis part, that means we are now focusing on this part. Clear? The uppermost part was epidermis, and just below the epidermis we are finding the structure or the layer called dermis. So we are going to look into the structures. So the outer part of the dermis, near or next to the epidermis, so this part is the epidermis part. So near to the epidermis or next to the epidermis we will find a numerous small processes which are coming out, and these processes which are coming out next to the epidermis is called the papillae. Okay, and this papillae contains the blood capillaries and the nerve endings. The nerve endings and the sense organs, they act as they mainly help in sensations. They help us to sense the touch and the pain. The sharp sense of touch, like touch in the skin with fingertips, enables the blind to read the braille characters. So this papillae, it contains the capillaries and the nerve endings, and this mainly acts the sense organ, so that it will give the sensation of touch and the pain. Okay, and there are more sense receptors in the deeper parts which are concerned with the sensation of pressure, pain, heat and cold. Clear? Now the next part we will learn about the derivatives of the skin. If you remember, my dear, we are learning with the principal components of the human skin. We have finished the skin proper, which is composed of epidermis and the dermis. Now we are moving to the derivatives of the skin. Okay, so the derivatives of the skin includes the hair, nails, sebaceous gland, the sweat glands and the mammary glands. So first one, we will go with the human hair. So the human hair, it consists of three parts. What are those parts? The hair shaft, the hair root and the hair bulb. Clear? So we have got hair shaft, the hair root and the hair bulb. Now which one is the hair shaft part, which one is the hair root part, and which one is the hair bulb part? We are going to look into that. So first of all, let's go through the figure number 13.1 and let us try to look at the structure of the hair. Okay, so which part we are going to focus on this figure? So here we can see the structure. So we are going to focus now on this particular structure. Okay, so first one is that hair shaft, which is a part which projects from the skin and may extend slightly below the surface of the epidermis. So we said that hair shaft is just the part which projects from the skin. So this part which mainly projects from the skin, this particular part is called the hair shaft. It just projects from the epidermis part. Okay, so that is the hair shaft part, and in normal situations it will lie obliquely on the skin. Number 2 is the hair root part, which is the part embedded within the dermis. So within the dermis we will find the hair root part. So all the structures which are coming out from the epidermis, these are the hair shaft part, and embedded in the dermis we will find the hair root. Okay, so within the dermis part we will find the hair root part. So this is the dermis part. Okay, so within the dermis part we will find which root? We will find the hair root part. Then the lowest part of the hair root is mainly expanded to form a hair bulb. Now which part is the hair bulb? So the lowest part of the hair root, this is the hair root. So the lowest part of the hair root is mainly expanded. Can you see the expanded part? So this part is expanded part, and this hair root which expanded will give rise to the hair bulb. So the lowest part of the hair root will usually be expanded and will give rise to hair bulb. Okay, which contains a projection of the dermis called the hair papillae, and it contains the capillary with blood supply. And next one is hair follicle, the structure enclosing the hair root. So the structure that encloses the hair root is called the hair papillae. Okay, so here you can see the presence of the structure called the hair papillae. So this particular hair papillae will entirely surround the root hair. So okay, so the black one is the hair root part embedded in dermis, and is surrounded by a layer which is called the hair papilla, and the base of the hair root expanded is called the hair bulb. Clear? Okay, Now, this hair follicle is composed of epithelial cells and the connective tissue sheaths, and responsible for the growth and the elongation of the hair. Clear? And the growth of the hair occurs by the addition of cells at the base, which will soon die. Now, the hair follicles also contain the pigment which is called melanin, and the color of the hair is due to the varying quantities of melanin, and when melanin production decreases, the hair becomes gray, it becomes silvery or even white. So the color of the hair is also dependent naturally, okay, not talking about the artificial color, but naturally when we are talking about the different colors of the hair, we are mainly dependent upon the presence of the concentration of the pigment called melanin. Clear? So everyone has experienced this goose flesh, okay, during winter time, or when we have certain type of emotions are feeling, we have experienced the goose flesh where the hair used to become erect. This is called piloerection or the pilo hair, and the surface of the skin presents a somewhat contracted and wrinkled appearance, and is mainly caused due to the cell called the erector cells, okay, and it's also called the erector muscles. So this is caused by erectors, also called erector muscles of the hair, which will run obliquely between the hair follicles and the outer part of the dermis. So during goose flesh, what we experience is that our hair becomes erect, which is called piloerections, and is mainly caused due to the erector or the erector muscles. And whenever this muscle will contract, it will pull one end of the hair to a somewhat vertical position, and at the other end depresses the epidermis. So our hair becomes erect. Okay, so remember the term piloerections. Now, hair in the human beings are continuously lost, and again they are regrown, and he said that the duration of the scalp hair is 2 to 5 years, and that of the eyebrow and the eyelashes is 3 to 5 months. So hair from the different parts of the body, they are different. Okay, the hair of the head, the hair of the chest, arm, the armpit, the beard, nose, etc., they are all different, and this will give the clue to the forensic investigation in a crime scenes, because the hair are different at different positions in our body. We said that the hair also provides a sensation of touch because nerve fiber extends up to their bases. Obviously, we can feel the sensations when we are touched with the hair. It contains the nerve fiber. Okay, so there are hairs along the edges of the eyelids, eyelashes to help prevent the entry of foreign particles. So you can see the function of the hair present on the eyelids and the eyelashes, and their function is to prevent the entry of foreign particles to the eye. And similarly, there are hair in the nose. Function is to prevent the entry of dust particles in our nose. Then we have got facial hair in human male, like the beard, mustache. Like this particular beards will give us the idea, or will help us to separate the sexes, the male sex and the female sex. Clear? Okay, so they are the function of hair also, which are present in different part of the human body. Now next one, we'll talk about the next derivative, that is these nails, which are made up of keratin only, and which are very, very hard blood-like structures, and which grow as a dead cell from the nail root. Clear? And it lies below the skin at the base. So when an open pore in the skin, just look over here, when an open pore in the skin is clogged with the dead skin cells, so any pore in the skin is there, and if any pore in the skin is mainly been clogged, is filled up with the dead cells, and with the sebum from the sebaceous gland, it becomes black upon oxidation, and it is really called the blackhead. So if any pore is being clogged with the dead cells and the sebum which is being secreted from the sebaceous gland, then it becomes black on oxidation, and that is called the blackhead. So a human nail has got three main parts: the plate, the bed, and the matrix. Now which one is plate? It is the hard and the outer part of the nail, which is made up of dead keratinized cells. That means the part which comes out of our nail, which is used to cut. Okay, that's made of keratin, is the dead cells. That's why we don't feel pain when we used to cut our nails. It is dead cells. That's called the plate. Then you have got bed, the root. It lies just below the nail plate, and matrix, just below the skin. It just appears like a whitish half moon at the base of the nail. That is called the matrix. Clear? Okay. Now next one is sebaceous gland. Now which one is sebaceous gland? Now we are going to learn about the next part, or next derivatives, that is the sebaceous gland. Okay, we are going to learn about this gland, sebaceous gland. Now these glands are usually branched, and they usually open into hair follicles through a tiny open space that means opens to the outside. So if you look at the sebaceous gland, look over here, they are mainly connected to the hair follicle. okay, and they usually open into the outside to a tiny pore, through a pore, and they give out oily secretions, and the name of the secretions is called the sebum, sebum, sebum. Remember, the name of the oily secretion from the sebaceous gland is called the sebum, which makes the hair and the outer surface of the skin oily and waterproof. Now, what is the function of sebum? It makes the hair and the outer surface of the skin oily and waterproof to keep the epidermis supple and to prevent loss of moisture by evaporation. That is the function of sebum secreted from the sebaceous gland. Clear? Now, in cold and dry weather, the skin becomes rough, and when we used to rub it, let's say when we scratch it, a powdery surface usually comes out. Okay, that's mainly due to the reduced secretion of the sebum from the sebaceous gland. Whereas in hot and humid weather conditions, the skin becomes extra oily due to the increased secretion of sebum or the oil from the sebaceous gland. Okay, so three common problems are related to the sebaceous glands. One is pimple, acne, and the blackheads. So pimples means there is sebum accumulations which causes the growth of bacteria because it is nutritive, gets infected, and results in the formation of boils and the pimples. Then acne, where the sebaceous glands gets inflamed due to the hormonal influence. It is one of the commonest problem in adolescents. Okay, acne. Then you have a third one called the blackheads. We have learned that when any open pore in the skin is being clogged with the dead skin cells, and when the sebum is filled over there, it becomes black on oxidation and forms the blackhead. So these are the three common problems which are related to the sebaceous gland: pimples, acne, and blackheads. The next one is the sweat glands. We are going to learn about this particular gland. Okay, sweat gland. Now, sweat gland is a simple coil tube consisting of deeper secretory part and the excretory part, which runs upward to open on the surface. So we have got two parts in the sweat glands. One is called the secretory part, and number two is called the excretory part, which runs upward to open on the surface. Now, which part is excretory part? If you look over here, this coil part is the sweat glands, and this one is the excretory part, which runs upward to open to the outside, which is called the sweat pore. Can you see over here? So this part is the excretory part of the sweat gland. Okay, now the outer openings are called the sweat pores. So we have seen just now that figure. Their total number in the body is estimated at about 2 millions, and human beings which belong to the hotter places, to a hotter country, they have more number of sweat pores than the people which used to live in the colder areas. Okay, because in hot, humid climatic conditions, there will be more amount of secretions from the sweat glands. So they have a higher amount of sweat pores than to those people who are living in the colder climatic conditions. Alright, okay. Now, the secretory part of the sweat glands absorbs fluid from the surrounding cells and blood capillaries of the dermis and passes it into the excretory sweat duct, which pour it out on the surface. So the secretory part of the sweat glands, what they are doing, they are absorbing the fluid from the surrounding cells. Okay, they are absorbing the fluid from the blood in the capillary of the dermis, and after absorbing them, they are passing it into the excretory pore or to the sweat pore. From it, it will be excreted out. Okay, sweating, also called perspiration, goes on at all times in minute quantities. Okay, but we cannot see it or we cannot feel it. Okay, but sometimes the sweating occurs in large quantities during the strenuous exercise or even during hot and humid weather or climatic conditions. So in hot humid conditions, we will have excessive sweating because it gives a cooling sensations. So the major function of sweating is to lose the body heat by evaporation. So when we are feeling very, very hot, we will profusely sweat, and in that case we will feel cool. Okay, so it will help to lose the body heat by evaporation. And sweat, that is mainly secreted by the sweat glands, it consists of about 90% water, 0.2 to 0.5% of salt, and the salt is mainly sodium chloride and contain traces of urea. And the urea lost to the sweat is about 1% of the total urea which is excreted by the body. Then you have a term over here, the cold sweat. Like whenever we are in the cold climatic conditions also, we used to sweat. Okay, that's mainly due to the psychic influences like nervousness or due to fright. Yeah, it's not due to that hot and humid climatic conditions, but sometimes even in cold climatic conditions we used to sweat. It's mainly due to the nervousness and the fright. Okay, and sweatings may also accompany nausea and severe pain due to loss of body salts. Now the next derivatives of the skin is the mammary glands, which are the modified sweat glands, figure number 13.3. okay, and these glands are present in both male and female, but in case of males it is present in a rudimentary state, but is well developed in case of females. And in females, mainly after attaining puberty, it will enlarge in the form to form a pair of breasts, and each breast carries a central conical projection which is called the nipple. You can see in the figure also. All right, each breast contains a central projection which is called the nipple, and 15 to 20 milk ducts open at the nipple. So around 15 to 20 ducts are present at the milk ducts. Milk ducts is open at the nipple, and inward also it will continue. Okay, it will continue, and it will mainly it's mainly a branch structures, but inward it will mainly join to form a cluster of 50 to 20 lobes of the mammary glands. So here mainly it will form a cluster. Okay, so this particular milk ducts, it will run inward also, and they will form a 15 to 20 lobes of clusters to form of the mammary glands. And the activity of the mammary glands is under the control of the hormones, mainly the prolactin hormones, okay, which are the reproductive hormones, and it also been activated at the time of pregnancy also, because the most important function of mammary glands is to mainly secrete the milk, all right, which is very, very important for the newly born infant. It is not only highly nutritious for the newly born infant, for newborn baby, but it also contains lots of important antibodies which is essential to provide immunity to the newly born infant. Okay, then you have got a few glands called Meibomian glands, which are the modified sebaceous glands, and which opens on the margin of the eyelids, and the secretion is oily and soft to lubricates the margin of the lids and to prevent the overflow of tears. Then we have got next glands called ceruminous glands, which are the modified sebaceous glands found in the auditory canal, that is in the ear. Okay, and the second, the wax, which is called the ear wax or the cerumen, and this ear wax will lubricate and protect the delicate eardrum from the dust particles and the germs. So today we have just gone through the derivatives of the skin. So in the next class we'll begin with the skin and heat regulations of the body. So this much for today. See you in next class. Thank you.